Hi, folks. Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Excuse me, at your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about this channel was banned for oh, I don't know, a week or so, I suppose, and I hadn't noticed it straight away. I sort of had other things to do, and didn't realise it, and so I went to have a look, and it was banned, or the video was banned and threatened with, and the channel was threatened with permanent deletion if it happened again or something like that. But I couldn't really work it out, and I've you know, got a sort of colleague of mine to look at it, and they couldn't either. It said that the video was taken down for hate speech, and so we listened to it all again. We couldn't see any hate on it. You could sort of infer hate I mean, given how vague the terms are, if you upset someone in a protected class for any reason, then that can be considered as an approximation of hate, and thus hate. Given the vast wiggle room they have to interpret it, then I suppose anything could qualify as hate. But I couldn't see anything, or we couldn't see anything hateful in it. So more in amazement than anything. We sent it was, I think it's called an appeal process, but it wasn't the point. It just sent a query. You've banned the video and made all sorts of dire threats because you're alleging hate. Can you tell us what the hate was? To say what text or what wording or what was it that was hate? And there was this sort of silence for some, and then we were suddenly unbanned. And I don't know why. I don't know why we were banned in the first place, because there was no hate that I could detect. And I've been around long enough to know what hate is. But even the strangle definitions that the activists use. But so then suddenly it was unbanned, and again, there was no explanation as to why the banning took place and why the unbanning took place. So I'm none the wiser. All I did was ask, tell me what this hateful phrase or wording was, and nothing came back. Now, it could be that there was an overeager censor that decided to ban it, and then another person reviewed it and couldn't see why, or didn't share. I don't know. Maybe there's other things going on. But if that is the case, and things can slip through the cracks that easily, then really it's time for the social media platform to review their policies and definitely review the sort of people they've got that are making those decisions. But that's a separate matter. Then so again, suddenly I was unbanned, but I still had I didn't have time to do any videos back then. So some days went by before I came back to it anyway. So given the time that I haven't been posting videos, I think less than half of that actually was as a result of banning, because I think they ban you for a week or something, or is it a fortnight? I don't know, whatever. But anyway, but I decided to do some legwork, and it's not that hard these days. The material is compensation justified for African Americans? Compensation on the basis of slavery. My view is no, but that's only my view and my opinion, and others will no doubt have a different opinion. But I got on the I didn't notice it actually straight away, but there was a message in the comments section that was posted saying that from someone who's saying, well, black people weren't paid for the work they did, and because of that, they are therefore justified to receive compensation. Or that was the view of the person that posted it. And then there was a link to something. So I hadn't noticed that straight away. So I went back to it and had a look, and this comes the people that created that video an NGO that's very much into black African American activism, and very much part of this pushing this idea of compensation. Now, what's also clear, they have an associated NGO that's funded from the same source that supplies fact checkers to the social media platforms. And doing some more digging, it's fairly clear that the people around the fact checking and in those two NGO subgroups, they're both interchangeable. It's like a conga line of activists. So it seems that the fact checkers, or certainly a number of them, in the census, are directly recruited out of activist NGOs. So they're hardly impartial, fact checkers. They're screaming activists and are paid and encouraged and trained to be so. So this sort of raises an interesting issue about fact checkers generally. If we look at, say, the Twitter, people who are in charge of fact checking, like Vijaya Gadde and Yael Roth and these sorts of things, these sort of people rather, they have very, very, very fixed, extremely anti-straight white male views, anti-Gentile views and so on. And if you go through these people in these organisations, again, you're lucky to find any straight white males. Certainly at the activism level, there's straight white males maybe pulling the strings in behind the curtains in the background, but certainly not at the activism level. And there is an unusual number of Indians, and as in the subcontinent India, and most of them, not all, but most of them are female Indians, and an unusual number of gay, lesbian, Jewish people. Now, if you look at sort of certainly the fact checkers that you can easily glean and gather from just doing online searches. Just looking down the list here, Roth, Silverman, Goldberg, Stein, Berg, Roth, it just goes on. And then the Indian Brahmin names, again, mostly women. So there seems to be, these people seem to flock to. Now, most of the Jewish names are gay or lesbian people, and that's not hard to glean again by doing some legwork. So these are people being purposefully selected because of their hatred of straight, white, Gentile society. And in that sense, and if we look at the people at Twitter that were making the decisions, Agarwal, Gadde, and the list goes on there, Roth, and so on. You'd struggle to find, I think out of the top 20 sort of censor type people, there was one straight white male, and he's a deep, paid up deep state operative anyway. So it's amazing how they managed to gather that many people who simply hate white society, hate straight white males, hate Gentiles, hate Christianity, hate everything about it. They're quite happy to come and take all the money they can lay their hands on in the West, but hate it nonetheless. And these are the people that are censoring. So who are they going to censor? They're going to censor straight white male Christians, which is exactly what they do, and do it in spades. But the interchangeability of the activists was something that I hadn't fully, I knew was going on, but I just hadn't fully appreciated. And I think the censors should all be publicly declared, and should be on a list of people saying, someone Silverberg transgender, someone Roth homosexual activist, and so on. Now, if you look at the CVs of these people, again, if you're prepared to put the time in, you can do it online. They're not what you call impressive people. Now, I've worked with and hired and been hired by a lot of very impressive Jewish people who are clearly of well above average intellect, and something I've always admired actually about Jewish people, just how many of them are really bright, and they're in that sense a pleasure to work with when you're dealing with complex or technical issues. you feel you're dealing with people that really know their shit. But the sort of Jewish people are being picked for these roles are, some of them have got online interviews with these they'll hurt us. The gay people are being murdered, and they're people who are in such a personal state of anxiety and disarray. You wonder how they could hold down a job, sweeping the floor at a takeout food shop or something, and here they are. Some of them getting paid many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Just to suppress straight white male Christians, such as the importance to the globalists that they're prepared to pay, low IQ people whose personal lives are an utter and total mess. They're in states of anxious depression, just even existing day to day. These people, and yet they're paid gazillions to take out their insecurities and so on against straight white Gentile Christians, and that's they're clearly giving the jobs to these people for those reasons. But the extent of it is something I'm surprised, and also how unimpressive these people are. They're not even trying to pick the brightest or people that can bring any sort of wisdom to the table. They just want them to bring their anxiety, their insecurity, and their hatred to the table, and that's all they want, and they're paid handsomely for it. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.